Nearly everybody I know with ADHD has a co-occurring disorder, and many don't even realize it. Many people, when they think about a co-occurring disorder, think about a brain-based mental health disorder like depression or anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder. What up, my OCD peeps? But did you know that ADHD can also be linked to physical health issues as well? If you've clicked on this video, you're likely wondering if you have PoTS, and if so, if it is connected to your ADHD. So we're going to delve into if it's connected, and if so, if we can find the reason for why. But we're not just going to stop there. We're also going to talk about why it can be challenging, especially for women with ADHD, to get their health needs met, and what you can do to advocate for yourself. I am not a doctor myself, but I am a licensed clinical social worker, which is a professional in mental health, and I have a specialization in ADHD and my own live experience. Okay, let's get right into it. Let's start with, what is PoTS? Well, think about this. Have you ever been laying down and then you stood up too quickly, and then all of a sudden you felt dizziness, lightheadedness, almost like you're about to faint, and you look and you see that your heart is just beating at a crazy rate? People with PoTS experience that daily, and it can be absolutely debilitating for them. PoTS stands for postural tachycardia syndrome. So basically, when you sit up, your heart rate goes up, but it is so much more than that. There are other symptoms besides just an increase in heart rate when you sit up. There can be dizziness, nausea, tremors, lightheadedness, fatigue, fainting, migraines. The list goes on and on. And for the people that have PoTS, it can make so many activities of daily living just completely impossible, even getting dressed in the morning or taking a shower. In the US alone, it is estimated that PoTS affects 500,000 people, and it affects many, many more women than men. It normally affects women that are aged between 20 and 50 years old. It's worth noting that PoTS is often talked about in connection to connective tissues disorders like EDS. We're not going to be getting into EDS too much in this video, but I am going to touch on its relation to PoTS later on in the video. So let's answer the big question that everyone wants to know. Is there a connection between PoTS and ADHD? Well, both Reddit and scholarly articles point to, yes, there is some sort of connection, and we're not really sure why, because there is not a ton of extensive high-quality research out there. A big shocker. A disease that impacts mostly women and not men doesn't have a lot of research to back it up. Wow. Shocker. But we're going to start with Reddit here. And as just a small tangent, I just want to touch on the fact that I know Reddit can sometimes get some flack, but honestly, it can be a fantastic resource for folks with ADHD, especially women with ADHD who have been in situations where your symptoms are minimized or overlooked, or they say it's all in your head. You know, Reddit is a place where people share their unfiltered and personal experience and opinions. And although you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? It's still helpful to hear other people's opinions and to feel that connection and community. So I wanted to share a little bit about what this one Reddit user posted. They said, "My psychiatrist told me that PoTS is extremely common and heavily comorbid with ADHD. Notably, it seems to be much more common in women, 5 times more likely than in men. And sources claim that ADHD medication can exacerbate the symptoms. Headaches, nausea, and just a general feeling of unwellness gets worse throughout the day is what they experience. By late afternoon, the only thing that they can do is lie in bed. It has gotten worse over time, and it can be debilitating for their productivity, leaving them with only a few measly hours in the day to feel well enough to work." They started to realize that the symptoms could be PoTS, but there just isn't enough information about the connection between PoTS and ADHD. So that is one person's experience, and it was filled with comments of other people experiencing very similar things. And unfortunately, I'm not going to have a lot of answers for you. But here is what we know. We know that there are a lot of medical professionals who state that they see a prevalence between people with ADHD and PoTS, specifically women with ADHD and PoTS. We know that there's a documented prevalence between PoTS and connective tissue disorders like EDS, and that is important because there's a little bit more information about the high co-occurrence with EDS and neurodevelopmental disorders that include both ADHD and autism spectrum disorders. We know that PoTS is considerably more common in folks with ADHD and the autism population, especially when compared to the neurotypical population. So we know there is a connection. We know there's a connection. What we don't know is really why there's a connection. And the biggest reason for that is because PoTS is understudied, EDS is understudied. We don't have a lot of information about even ADHD in women, let alone how all of those connect and relate to one another. So these are all areas of research in the future. But what we do know, particularly I saw one study that had results that hinted to the fact that it could be norepinephrine in your brain. It is possible that the norepinephrine in your brain is responsible for attention. And folks that have PoTS have a lack of enough norepinephrine in their brain to get that attention. So there could be a connection there. They also suggested that that would link to common genetic underpinnings for both PoTS and ADHD, so that there's something on a genetic level that connects the two. It does not tell us much, and I'm so sorry for that. But what we do know is it is genetic. And I think that is the important takeaway here. So the other thing that I said that we would talk about in this video is why it's so hard for women with ADHD to really get the care that they need and to get the diagnoses. And I think what it really comes down to is the fact that those of us with ADHD, we feel a lot of shame and guilt. And especially if you went the majority of your life going undiagnosed, that means you probably spent the majority of your life knowing or unknowingly masking your ADHD symptoms and building that shame and that guilt up. And at least for myself, I know that really translates into so many aspects of my life, especially my physical health. There's this weird thing where I kind of feel like my physical health symptoms are a moral failing if I'm feeling ill, like it's something that I did wrong, which can lead to shame, which can lead to me not wanting to go to the doctor and not wanting to be shamed at the doctor or not taken seriously. If you experience that, the biggest thing that I want you to know is listen to the reason for these disorders, common genetic underpinnings. It's genetic. It's not your fault. It's not anything you did or did not do. And you deserve to be treated well for it. You deserve to get medical treatment for it. If you're hearing this information and you're thinking, this sounds familiar to me, I have a lot of these symptoms, I might have PoTS, I encourage you to go to your doctor and to talk about your symptoms. As a little bit of a warning, I think PoTS is still kind of relatively new, that a lot of doctors don't really know about it, or they might not be able to look out for it, both PoTS and EDS. I think there's more information now and doctors know more about it now, but that's kind of a newer thing that they know about it. So do your own research and document all of your symptoms. Do your research, find out what symptoms you have, and document, which I know it can be hard to do, but no one's going to do it for you. So if you have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something that monitors your heart rate, take a look at what your heart rate is when you're laying down. And then when you get up, if your heart rate spikes, note what that heart rate is and how it's different from your baseline, and make sure you're taking documentation of all of that. Bring that documentation with you to the doctors and say, I think I might be experiencing PoTS. These are the symptoms that I'm having. This is information about PoTS you probably know, but just in case you don't, and give that to your doctor. You deserve to be treated for this if you experience it. That is really it for today. I felt kind of silly even making this video since I don't have a lot of information to go off of, but honestly, that is just kind of where we're at with it. And the more that we talk about it, the more likely it is that it will become more visible and there will be more research on it. If I missed any information, which is definitely likely, please let me know in the comments down below so we can all be more well informed. I do try my best here, but I am just a person on the internet and I don't always get things right. If you found value in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It would be very, very helpful for me. This is a brand new channel, but I am going to continue to make videos, and I just would love to grow an audience of people who find value in this type of stuff or want to build a community for ADHD. So that is it for today. As always, please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll see you next week. Bye.